What a time to be alive. Do you have any idea how excited I am right now? I mean, I'm doing the Tim Sherwood all the time here because it's one thing to finally make the trek to Villa Park after 43 years since being chosen. That's a pretty big deal on its own. But to be going while all this is going on, and I had identified these dates as the best fit for my schedule, but I was doing so at a time when wasn't really sure. We could literally be playing Newcastle for places. Oh, let's get into it. Leicester City 1, Aston Villa 2. So, 9 games left, 27 points on the table. What's interesting is that 7 of those 9 games are against teams that are there or thereabouts in the European conversation. So, European 6-pointers against all but 2 of our opponents, one of them coming up this Saturday. That is incredible, and we're still under the radar, which I'm perfectly fine with. In fact, if you look at our group, there's probably more expectation among those that I talked about because they've kind of been up there this whole time, whereas we have been shot out of a cannon and are going up with a bullet. By the time Newcastle comes around, can you imagine? That could be a huge game. Oh, happy days at the King Power. Look at the jubilation among those players. I half-inched this from the lovely and talented Jody Louise Art on Twitter. Thanks for letting me use your photo, Jody. I hope you don't mind. As we present the Holy Trinity show, the 3 key issues or moments that defined Leicester City 1, Aston Villa 2, starting with the key statistics. Totally different from Chelsea, same result. 3 big away points, and I stuck with accurate long balls. An interesting stat in this game, but everything went Villa's way. The one thing, when you look at this, Villa needs to be better with their shot selection and conversion because I thought they were really wasteful from long range, but 63% on the accurate long balls, whereas Leicester were 32% without the ball, and one of those long balls was beautifully taken by Harvey Barnes. Just a little side note, if you decided against getting the Castor official kit this year, it's still all on sale. And isn't it funny how that kit is looking better and better as every game goes by? They're blowing it all out. We might be hanging it on our wall one day and going, "Whew, remember that year? What a year that was." This, by the way, is 50% off, and I love this. There's a link in the description below for you to start saving money. This is a key issue that kept me up last night, believe it or not. Like, what are our owners thinking right now, watching this totally dramatic turnaround thanks to one individual? Are they thinking, geez, if we had had this guy from the beginning of the year, we'd already be in Europe. So why do we need to spend any money? Because that's my fear. We're heading into some tough economic times here imminently, If they're doing this well with a super thin squad, why invest? They could also be thinking, what if we upgrade in 2 or 3 places in this squad and give Unai the players and the resources he needs and give him a preseason camp and just let him go? Because my big thought right now is we have to do everything we possibly can to keep this man happy. He is the difference. Let's lavish him with love, give him the resources and what he needs, and let him go with it. Because Alex Moreno is settling very well, thank you very much. Wasn't sure at the beginning, but this guy would be awful to play against. I don't know what he's going to do next. I wonder sometimes if he knows what he's going to do next, but it would be a nightmare as a fullback playing against him. And imagine if we had just a little bit more attacking thrust, power, or nous on either flank. Here's a big issue. Graham Scott is a terrible referee. And he kind of looks like one of the prisoners in Shawshank Redemption. I can't remember his name. But what was particularly disturbing about his performance was at the very end, with the free kick that preceded the chaos. Initially, he had indicated that the foul was being given to John Duran and the free kick was going that way. And then moments later, he changed his mind and directed it this way. There's nothing that looks worse, by the way, than when a referee changes his mind within the course of the minute. And I don't know if he was getting fed in his ear or not, but he seemed at times lost in this game, and VAR had to come and bail him out because he was guessing in that chaos at the end, which was incredible defending by Ollie Watkins, another part of his game we don't talk enough about. Brave, resilient, determined, and in the end he drew the foul, and Graham Scott's blushes were spared. But that was all so unnecessarily stressful. Big moment, the Dewsbury Hall sending off. Kiernan Dewsbury Hall was seconds from being substituted. The fourth official had his number dialed into the board, ready to hold it up. And I'm telling you right now, the experience and savvy of Ashley Young saw the situation, the distance of player and ball, and there is no doubt in my mind that Young gave it a little extra oomph with the contact, drew the second yellow, and Leicester needed that sending off like a hole in their head. Apart from getting skinned on a big moment that's still to come, where would we be without Ashley Young this season? Not only providing depth and cover, but leadership. When the entire crowd is booing you, you know you're doing something right. Big moment. The Emi Martinez save off a deflected Harvey Barnes shot in the late stages of the first half. And I don't think Tyrone Mings can get out of the way of this effort, but Emi Martinez's eyes are locked on the football right down to his shins and away. He stayed with it. The guy is dialed in as he has been since winning the World Cup, with maybe the lone exception, ironically, against Arsenal. But other than that, and the hard part about this game is your team has so much of the football, you're not seeing any action, and then all of a sudden you have to come out of your box, head the ball away, or make big decisions, or a save like this one. I feel like the team is kind of rallying around Emi to help get him to where he wants to be. That game, a roller coaster of emotions. I mean, if there was ever a game where you needed a fine spirit afterwards and a nice big easy chair, maybe with a crackling fire, because it's been cold for early April. Well, this would have been the game. And if you become a Flavier Club member, you get samples, fine samples, sent to your house. And if you like one of them, you order the bottle at a member's price. If you want to join me in the club, hit the link in the description below, and cheers. Oh, and by the way, look at this. I had some Holy Trinity show coasters made up for your fine whiskey. Cheers. Big issue number 3, 11-4-11. You know as well as I do, the first goal is always going to be significant, especially when the away team gets it at the home of a team that is extremely precarious and mentally fragile. But for Ollie Watkins, 6 straight games on the road with a goal. 11 to match his shirt, and still 9 games left to add to that tally. I think he could very easily eclipse his single season best of 14. And it couldn't help but make me reflect on some of the conjecture on Villa socials regarding Danny Ings' departure. Oh my God, Danny Ings is our best striker. Ollie Watkins can't score in the Premier League. What if this? What if that? That now looks to be very good business. And Unai Emery was right once again. And I was watching Danny Ings for West Ham playing against Southampton on the weekend, being caught offside time after time because he's just not quick enough to beat the defenders. Looks like a masterstroke now, doesn't it? As great as Ollie Watkins' will, desire, and determination to get between all those players and stab the ball at the perfect moment, so too was the quality of the 2 passes that preceded the goal sequence. And when they were celebrating, you'd see Watkins right up to Dougie Luiz saying, "What a ball." And by the way, credit Emi Buendia as well, because he dealt with the Douglas Luiz ball beautifully. I thought it went off his arm at first, but it didn't. You can clearly see that. So he reels it in and then just plays it in the perfect place. And this is a week when Ollie Watkins admitted that Unai Emery has worked extensively with him on where to be without the ball. He said, don't come to it, stay over there. And he's obviously listened, because his off-the-ball game right now and letting his teammates do the other stuff is clearly working. He is delivering week after week. Big issue or moment number 2, the Barnes blast. I honestly did not think that Villa were going to concede in this game, especially after scoring first. I mean, Leicester offered very little threat going forward. Jamie Vardy looks broken to me. I cannot believe, in fact, this is the same Foxes team that looked so dynamic in beating us 4-2 just a few weeks ago. But credit where credit is due. The long ball was not hopeful. It was inch perfect. And Harvey Barnes with one of the most sublime first touches in full flight to then shake off Ashley Young and still have the presence of mind from a sharpish angle to bend it around Emi Martinez. This was an excellent goal out of nothing, changed the total mood and complexion of the game, and Harvey Barnes has been a Villa killer. That's 5 goals against us. Now, Leicester has 2 big problems. Number 1, they're below the red line, which is bad enough, but they also have a red ink problem in the club. That's why it took so long to get rid of Brendan Rodgers, from what I'm hearing. And so if there is going to be a rebuild, you have to think Barnes is one of those ones that's going to change postal codes, especially if they don't stay in the division. And the number 1 big issue or moment that defined Leicester City 1, Aston Villa 2, one-time Traore. Fact. Bertrand Traore is only capable of scoring wizardly, sorcerer-like goals. And you know it's going your way when you just come on as a sub. You've had maybe, 3 or 4 touches total? And he knew, by the way, if that ball came to him, he knew the goalkeeper was off his line and that he would go over. And sure enough, it was like in slow motion somehow. The ball came to him. He had 1 touch, 1 attempt, and he hit it absolutely perfectly. A guy who had injury problems, was shipped off to Turkey, where he really didn't get a whole lot of playing time. He was given El Castardo by Steven Gerrard, and comes up with the goods just like Professor Emery drew it up on the King Power Stadium dressing room whiteboard. It's a goal that I will never forget, along with his catalog of other spectacular goals. But this particular goal, this goal sets up the next 2 big games now, which little old me happens to be going to see. Just look at this scene here. This is a band of brothers. This is a family that's developing now, even though it's a very thin squad. But the belief that is building here, and the momentum and the state of free flow where everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing and their mind is clear to go out and get the job done. I mean, long may it continue, and who knows how far it's going to go. But for our purposes, more points on the table in the categories that we follow for the last couple of years, including the improving away record again, as Villa has now taken 21 of a possible 45 away from Villa Park. They definitely got a VAR decision in their favor. Watkins up to 11. Bailey still needs to pick up his socks there. And against the bottom 6, Villa's been relatively ruthless. The only blemish maybe, Emi Martinez, not able to keep clean sheet number 9. All right, here we go. Next up, Nottingham Forest. There are some squeaky backsides in Nottinghamshire right now, as suddenly those tricky trees have found themselves right in the thick of the relegation battle, despite the fact that their owner invested quite heavily to make sure that they stay up. And on Tuesday, they were at Leeds and took the lead at Elland Road, only to have the home side score 2 in succession and take all 3 points. Now, Forest is one of 4 teams on 27 points and hanging by the goal difference thread. Now, they have some nice pieces. Johnson, obviously. Emmanuel Dennis has been a menace against us in whichever jersey he's worn, but I just showed you how Villa has done against the bottom six. And frankly, we've been relatively ruthless against those teams this year. And so long as everybody stays healthy in claret and blue, I have a pretty good feeling about this one. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some packing to do. So until next time, which may actually mean seeing you in person, hopefully in a nice cozy pub or at the side of a pitch or outside the ground, we need to savor this one. Savor it the way we did when Ross Barkley spanked one past Kasper Schmeichel at the same ground with no people. What a difference. Whew, the Villa faithful were on point. They were crackling loud, even through my speakers 7,400 kilometers away. Be well, enjoy, let's ride the wave, and as always, up the mighty Villa.